Hey everyone, I am here today with Dakota Routh from Agency Support for Highlevel. I am very excited to dive into this conversation because I just learned a while ago here that they do support for Assistable. Now, I know most of you guys listening to this here little show are huge into Assistable, and there is certainly a need for agency level support to be able to hand off the support, the onboarding to a qualified team. And so Dakota Routh has just mentioned that since they became public, this is actually just, well, what is it? Endish, last quarter, I think, or the
Yeah,
third quarter of
yes,
last year
yeah.
in August. And they've just been growing incredibly fast with the high level part. Now they just added assistable as well, running up to 60 support people in the background now. So there's a whole lot going on. I'm very excited to dive in. We have some questions from the community that we'll be answering through this. And also, well, he's a SaaS agency owner himself with over 500 accounts. So very excited to dive into this here. So Dakota, why don't we, before we actually do the full introduction here,
Sure.
just a couple quick nuggets for the users. So if somebody is struggling with onboarding or just wanting to know how can I reduce the churn and just have a better onboarding process, what's a quick tip for that?
I would say to figure out how your sub accounts or your clients want to be onboarded and then onboard them that way. Often you see an agency that will be like, I have this great idea for onboarding and this is what we're going to do. And they stick to it like it's a line in the sand. But not everybody learns that way. Not everybody learns the same way. My wife learns different than I do. I learn different than most. I want to read. I want to learn. I want to read up on it when someone else might want their hand held. Where I could care less if you hold my hand. So I would say the best way to do onboarding is to one, figure out how your clients want to be onboarded and then adjust to make that happen.
Love it. Yeah, we're going to need to dive into that a bit more later yet. Now, what's another thing that the agency owners that are listening in here that they can reduce churn in their business? Any tips on that?
Ooh, man, I could talk about that all day long. If we're looking for just a quick nugget,
Quick
I'll give you
nugget.
two. I'll give you two. Number one, make sure you find the right clients. Don't search for the bad ones. We can talk more about that later if you'd like. But having the wrong clients will definitely increase your churn. And then two, make sure you're servicing those clients the way that you sold them. If you sold them a done for you solution, then service them as a done for you solution. If you sold them a do it yourself solution, then service them as a do it yourself solution.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Sounds good. Looks like we have quite a bit to talk about. So, yeah. So why don't you go ahead and just dive in a little bit more on your background, how you got into even go high level and how that evolved into what you're doing now with the support.
Ooh, so we found Highlevel completely by accident. We were a social media management company, not really so much into marketing. We'd had a couple of marketing clients where we're doing ads, but wasn't like our bread and butter. And we were the typical high level commercial where we're piecing together everything. We were using, what were you using? Cloud Campaign, I think is what it was called, for like managing social media. And then we were using completely different software for emails, another software. Like, I think at one point we were even using like Keep and Thrive. I think we tried both Keep and Thrive. And so literally piecing everything together. And I found High Level because I was at a volleyball game for my daughter, and a lead came through. And I remember it came through while I was filming my daughter's volleyball game. And I made a mental note to myself, like, hey, I have a lead I need to follow up on, but obviously can't because I'm filming a video. So an hour later, when the game was over, went to search for that lead, and I spent 25 minutes trying to find it. Like, did it come through on Instagram? Did it come through at Facebook? Was it a lead form? I couldn't remember where it came from, and it took me forever to even find it. And then at that point, I just told my wife, I was like, "There's got to be something out there that allows us to, have everything in one because we have all this thing. Like I have leads over here, I have my sales, my point of sale over there, sending invoices a completely different way, and we ended up stumbling across High Level that way.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
That is very, very, very fascinating. Now, obviously, that's kind of where you stumble onto a high level then, and then probably moved over a lot of clients right away, but then continued growing. So where are you sitting at now as far as like how many users you have on your own Go high level SaaS, and then kind of translating that into how you got to support?
Well, so we actually have launched our agency three times. First time was a disaster. We took all of our social media management clients, keeping in mind we were managing their social media. We weren't charging them for software because there really was no software back then before Highlevel existed in our world. So we were charging them just to manage the social media. And so what we did is we moved everybody over to Highlevel. We couldn't, in good conscience, all of a sudden say, "Hey, we're going to start charging you for something that we're introducing." Um, but so that what we did is we kept those clients, and those were all sub accounts, but they weren't paying sub accounts. They were paying for a service outside. And so we decided to launch. When we launched the typical Highlevel, like, I don't know, template. Like we're selling everything, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can build websites, I can build funnels, I can do automations and workflows. Oh, you don't know what that is? Let me show you, right?
GHL
Um,
Hero. Yep. That's
yeah,
everything. Everything.
we were like the GHL library, and and that didn't work at all. And so what we did is we pulled it off the market, and we just sat back for 60 days and try to repackage it. And we ultimately ended up selling it as a solution. So we built a course to help real estate agents generate leads through Facebook.
Mhm.
And so we used Highlevel to one supply that course to them, but also what we did is we took all of the stuff that we learned inside Highlevel, the workflows, the funnels, and all that, and we took screenshots of them and downloaded them in as PDF. Like, hey, here's the workflow we built. Here's the steps. We showed them in a PDF format. Here's the funnel we built in a PDF format. Like, and showed them essentially, like, hey, we spent 100 hours to build it, and we're going to give it to you for free. But we didn't give them a sub account. We just gave them the template. Basically, like, when I say template, I mean more like, hey, like, here's the framework, right? Like, here's the PDF version. You can go copy it inside ClickFunnels or inside Keep or
Mhm.
Thrive or wherever, and build it on your own. And then at the end, we were like, hey, by the way, if you just want us to build it for you, our team will build it. Click this button, schedule time to meet with our team. And by the time they got onto the call, they were already qualified, and it was just an easy sell at that point.
There we
Um,
go. Yeah.
yeah. So it
That's
was like,
really sorry. I just gotta say that's really neat because you're exposing what's going on. So it answers a lot of their questions before they
mhm,
ever talk to anybody, and then
correct.
they're like, "Hey, this could save me a lot of time. I'm gonna pay that whatever dollar
Yeah.
amount that would be." That
Yeah.
that's brilliant. That's really brilliant.
Yeah. And the idea of it actually came because a buddy of mine at the similar time was trying to start his own business and he had no clue. So I was like, well, start an LLC like this. And now that you have an LLC, go to Google, type in file my EIN with the IRS, click the first link, and then file it. It's free. It'll be instant. A couple days later, I asked him, I was like, hey, did you get your EIN? And he's like, oh, yeah, it'll be done in 2 weeks. Like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, yeah, they said I had to pay for the expedited service. And I was like, you paid for what? And he's like, yeah, I had to pay for the expedited service to get my EIN. It'll be done in 2 weeks. And I was like, pump the brakes. It's like,
Huh?
IRS doesn't charge you to start an EIN. He goes, oh, well, I just clicked the first link and they said it was $150 and they would file it all for me. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, I can start an EIN. Well, I can file an EIN in 3 minutes for free. And they charge you $150 for this? And you paid it?
And it's
Like,
gonna
and
be
that's
two
when it
weeks.
dawned on me. I was like, people buy for convenience, right? They buy because they don't, one, want to learn how to do it on their own. And two, they don't want to do it on their own. So they'll just pay somebody to do it. So like we get people to come out and clean our cars and clean our houses and so forth. So what we did is we just were like, okay, well, look, here's how you do it. For those that want to know how to do it, for those that have the 100 hours and want to go do it on their own, here you go. Or you can just hire us and we'll do it for you.
Hmm.
And we would pitch it as a done for you solution, but in reality, it was a snapshot. It took us an hour to upload it, because we built it as a snapshot. But we didn't tell them it was a snapshot. We never used like those words with our clients. Like they don't hear the word snapshot; they hear done for you, things like that. Mhm.
Which it is. I mean, you're connecting the dots, then making it work for them. So
Yeah,
for them, it is fully done for you, right?
100%.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really interesting, really cool. Um, I'm still on that. Like actually, and who doesn't Frank Kern always say like share? No, who was it? basically, just go ahead and share your secrets,
Yeah,
but then the implementation you can still pay for, have them pay
100%.
for, or whatever the puzzle piece would be, right? But that's
100%.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So so now from there, you obviously evolved into a support company. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many clients you have now, but you certainly have a lot of traffic if you have around 60 team members. Um, do you mind just sharing how kind of step towards into that?
Yeah. So for us, in the SaaS world, that model that I just mentioned with real estate agents did really well. We signed up 39 sub accounts in our first month. We were charging 1,500 to 3,500 upfront, and then what they paid upfront determined what their monthly was. And that's when it dawned on us is like we put all of our energy and effort into sales and figuring out how to package it. But I have no clue how to onboard somebody. I had no clue how to even offer support. I didn't even have a team to offer support. Like my guys were, building like courses and things like that for me, and they were, editing workflows, and I didn't have the time or the resources to pull them away from that. So we went out and we hired another support company, not knowing any better. We just hopped in the community, like who's the best out there. One specific company was recommended, so we hired them on the spot. And then a month later realized we just lost 17 of the 39 sub accounts that we had signed up. And all of those people wanted a refund because it's like under 30 days. Some of these people paid $3,500. So we're talking $46,000, something like that, which was a tough pill to swallow. Um, so being that I'm very analytical, first thing I did is we started calling all of them like, hey, why do you want to cancel? And all of them gave some variation of the same answer. And that was, it's just too overwhelming. Like it's too much to learn. Like, hey, it was great. I know it can do a lot. It probably does everything I need, but it's just too much for me to do. And so then it dawned on us the onboarding company that we had hired, the support company that was offering the onboarding, they were giving them 1 hour of onboarding and then shoving everything high level in their face for an hour. And then just like, you're good, right?
Yeah.
Go off on your own. And that's really intimidating for people that, number one, don't want to do it, don't want to learn it, don't even have the attention span to sit down and learn it. And be like us trying to teach, just anybody how to use Highlevel in an hour. So we had to kind of back up and figure it out on our own. Luckily, at the same time all this was going on, my daughter, who's now about to be 22, was learning how to drive. And I tell you this, I don't know if you have kids or not, but
Young
I tell
ones.
you this because if have you ever had to teach a teenager how to drive?
I have attempted for sure. Yeah.
It's the most stressful thing on the planet, by the way. You're sitting in the passenger seat, completely helpless, trying to like pray to God that they don't hit somebody, right, or hurt somebody. So I remember sitting in the passenger seat and trying to teach my daughter how to drive, and I literally had to coach her through everything. Okay, put your seatbelt on. All right, now move your seat up so it's comfortable. Touch the steering wheel. Is it good? Right. Look in your left mirror. Look in your right mirror. Adjust your rear view mirror. Okay. Put your foot on the brake. Okay. How does it feel? Right. I had to coach her through all those steps. And then as we're, gradually learning how to drive in a parking lot, like, okay, slow down on the brake, right? And then slowly hit the gas, things of that nature. It dawned on me, because I come from a sales background, it dawned on me that she's in the first stage of learning. Okay? So all humans go through 4 stages of learning, right? So where nowadays you and I, if we're driving down the road, I can have my cell phone on the dash, see a message come through and just kind of swipe it away, listen to the radio, talk to the person in the passenger seat, right? Driving with one hand, looking in both mirrors, it's like my brain, my body, everything is communicating in one without me even having to think about it, right? It's just mind body connection. That's because we're in the 4th stage of learning. And until our people get as close to that 4th stage as possible, they're uncertain, right? They're having to think about everything like, oh my gosh, this is frustrating. Where do I go for this? Where do I go for that? And that kind of thing. Where nowadays, that same daughter can drive down the road. She doesn't have to think about it, right? She's, cruising along just like you and I, right? Somebody swerves in her lane. She hits the brakes, she swerves and that kind of thing. So the challenge is how do I get them out of that 1st stage and into that 4th stage? And then on top of that, you've got different learning styles. right? Like if you've ever researched like, people with ADHD, right? In high school, they're almost always considered the bad kid, right? Because they have a hard time paying attention in that environment. It's not that they don't, which is odd because they end up in most cases being the smartest person in the room, right?
Yeah.
And so it's odd. It's like, okay, you can't learn in a classroom, but you're brilliant when it comes to, other things. And it's simply because of the way that their body and their mind wants to learn something, right? Like if I gave my wife a book and was like, hey, can you go read this book and tell me what it's about? She'd be like, no, right? Put it in a video or walk me through it. Tell me about it, or put it in audio. Let me listen to it, right? She's a completely different learning style than me. And so you had those two challenges, right? Like, how do I get somebody out of the first stage of learning and into the fourth stage, but also appeal to them in the way that they want to learn it? So what we did is we started creating our own onboarding process and started taking little bits and pieces we learned from other people and kind of making our own, right? And so now when somebody goes through onboarding, we have a downloadable PDF for them to download that has the 7 most important things for them to set up. We have automations that email them every day for the first 7 days that drip to them a couple of things like, hey, here's set up your business profile. Day 2, here, go get your phone number. Day 3, here, set up your web chat widget. Day 4, like here's A2P, the mobile app, things like that, right? So not only are they getting a downloadable PDF, but they're also getting these emails every day. And on top of that, it takes them to what we call an onboarding portal, which is really just a fancy way of saying a funnel, right? So, and it requires them to log in. And then in that login, it tracks their progress. Like they've completed the first step, the second step, and so forth. So we can see at what stage in the onboarding process they are. And then the hope is if they get to the end and book a one-on-one session, but then that's where the fun begins because no longer are we booking them for just one-on-one session. Remember, we're trying to get them out of the first stage and into the fourth stage. Okay, so we actually book 4. We have a first call is a tech call, and it's 30 minutes long. It is specifically designed to not teach them a single thing. Like we don't want to teach them anything. If they ask, we will, but our primary objective is not to teach them anything. Our primary objective is to make sure that they've set up their business profile, that they put in their EIN, they've linked their social media. We're literally checking boxes like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Right? Because we don't want to overwhelm them. If we overwhelm them in the beginning, the same thing's going to happen to those 17 people that left me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then after that, within a week, we put them on a second call, which we call an implementation call, designed to. This is a full hour of training where we're teaching them what they bought from you, specifically what they bought. Like an hour isn't enough time to teach them high level. So what we do is we handpick like what was the main reason you bought this software, like what were you most excited about, and that's what we're going to focus on. The third and fourth call are all 1 week apart from each other. We call it an optimization call. And then on this call, we're fine tuning now what they've already been using, right?
Okay.
So they've now been using the system for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And the idea is that they have a ton of questions at this point. Hey, I tried sending an email, but it keeps bouncing back, or they're not getting it, or I tried building a funnel and I'm really confused with this. And now we can really kind of dive in and teach them what they want to learn the most about.
Right. Right. Well, that's very, very different than what most people will do. Most
Very
like,
much.
I sold them. All right, let's onboard them. Boom. All right, now go and fend for yourself.
Yeah.
No, that's really, really good. So essentially, the initial call will be helping make the connections. Like if they making sure they're the initial stuff is set up to start functioning. And then you have always in the background, you have more emails going out, giving them the next step by step on how to continue the setup, how to start implementing for themselves. Now, is that even kind of fine tuned and customized? Like not everybody needs to know all of Go Highlevel because most people don't even want to use all of it. They just want to use that very specific piece, like for your clients, probably social media management for a large, and then some campaigns, I'm guessing, like workflows.
Yeah.
So is there some distinguishing between that? Like, so I guess, okay, let me simplify the question. So for people who are looking for support, do you have custom onboardings or is it all what you have pre-templatized essentially and that's what you install?
It's custom in the aspect of we have when we first onboard a new agency, we give them everything and we train them on here's what we provide, here's why we provide it. But you're right, some agencies do limit what their clients can see or what they can do. So we give them the freedom of reducing like the whole process. Well, all we ask is that, hey, let us know what you want to change or let us know what you want to remove because we've attached automations to every step. So that way we can make sure that automations are still working properly. But if you're like, they're never going to use the web chat widget, for example, or they're not going to need A2P because they're overseas, then we'll go in and we'll remove those steps from the equation, including the email sequences and so forth. And we'll change the automations so that they don't conflict with other things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As far as adding stuff, we have agencies add stuff all the time. So like we provide like what's called a gray label welcome video. Gray label meaning it doesn't mention Highlevel, it doesn't mention us, it doesn't mention them. But agencies all the time will customize their own, especially when I show them how easy it is. Like, look, here's where I get my actress. Here's how much I pay her. I give her this script, and then she'll record it on a green screen. You slap it into a Canva, and now you have your own customized welcome video. And so a lot of times agencies will just take that extra step and then customize bits and pieces of it themselves.
There we go. There we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm guessing for now, kind of turning towards assistable specifically, that would probably be part of that. Now, I don't know, is that something already in your typical documentation that you can easily add that, or maybe at this point it's a separate thing? I guess maybe we should dive into that a little bit. You've covered a couple of these other questions regarding the onboarding quite in depth, which is great. So for assistable specifically, where is your agency at currently with that? Have you been doing that for a while? How's that going? How do you do that in the onboarding process currently?
So we've been offering support at some level for assistable for about 4 months now, roughly. When I say at some level, meaning that we started offering support when Bernie came on and needed it for his agency. The biggest challenge for us isn't learning assistable. It's pretty easy to use. The biggest challenge for us is our team is growing so fast. It's like we're teaching one segment of the organization and then we're just grew. We added 15 more people. So now we have to teach them not just Highlevel, but also teach them assistable. So what we've been doing to kind of counteract that is that when somebody comes into a chat, a live chat, if we are able to figure out that, hey, this is an assistable thing, then they will create a ticket and elevate it to a level 2 so that level 2 can deal with it. Our goal, our objective is to have everybody 100% trained on assistable to where it doesn't actually have to be elevated to a level 2. But we're just not there at a point now where every single team member is 100% trained on it. Yep. So rather than providing lower quality support, we just elevate it into a ticket where somebody with a higher quality a higher level of education at least can take care of it.
That makes sense. Yeah. And assistable is constantly still growing and changing, right? Like it's been a lot more consistent with the way that the interface looks, for example, for the last probably 6 months already. Yeah. But it's still constantly adding new features, constantly adding new things, kind of like Go Highlevel. Well, they kind of still do it, but I know back in the day, like there was a lot more where completely new things showed up. Right now, it's more like improvements, right? Yeah. And assistable is kind of the stage of adding awesome new pieces to it. So I bet keeping a team up to date with all of that and the little nuances, the little like diagnosing, triaging of all the different things, I bet it comes with its own challenges. Yeah. So
having Bernie as a tool definitely helps out a lot as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, he's quite familiar with that, obviously. So that's awesome. Now on that front, what I'm a little curious here for the audience. So for assistable, I don't know if you have so much data on assistable specifically, but what do you see if we were talking like amount of support tickets that are common with certain numbers of sub accounts? Let's just say if we went with 10, that might be too small. If we went with 100, that'd be a bit of an easier number potentially. Do you have some stats on approximately how many support tickets you can expect at certain levels in agency growth, and then how a couple tips on reducing that?
So, I'm going to blow your mind with this one, right? So, if you look at all the agencies that we have that are using support, the ones that are charging the least amount for sub accounts or for whatever it is that they're selling, because there are some people out there selling like AI and things like that for $100 a month, which is just ridiculous in my opinion. But there are people out there doing it. The ones that are charging the least are also the same ones that have the highest amount of support tickets compared to sub accounts. The ones that are charging the highest have the least amount of support tickets. Okay. And it's simply because of the level of client that they're getting, right? So if you were to look at lower ticket items, right, those clients typically want more, right? They expect more. Like, hey, I gave you $100. I want you to build it all out for me and launch it and all that kind of jazz, right? Where people who are paying for a higher ticket, they they have high expectations, but they're just different expectations, if that makes sense. And overall, they chime into support a lot less. From our standpoint, like I would say, as far as percentages go, that's a big like pendulum, right? So we have some agencies. I have smaller agencies that are constantly living in chat, and I have larger agencies that we don't see. I have one agency that does $600,000 a month in revenue, and we maybe deal with their clients 15, 20 times in a month.
Really?
And then I have other agencies that, they're selling sub accounts for 40, $50 a month, and they're bringing in 100 chats a day. Mhm.
Wow. Okay, that's a staggering difference. And
Yeah.
so, can you talk about that a little bit more? Is the higher the one that has so much more volume, or at least price wise, income wise? Um, do they have a lot more training on their by themselves already, aside from you, or where do you see that difference coming from? Is it literally just the level of client?
It's a combination of two things. One, level of client, but also two, the people that are doing 600,000 a month, they're not selling a do-it-yourself
True.
solution. They're selling something that's done for them. Now, the funny thing about it is, when it's pitched to the client, it's done for them. But behind the scenes, they've done it enough times over and over again that it's just kind of like, hey, here's 30 minutes to an hour's worth of work. Let's get this account set up. And they know it's like if I asked you, hey, about all of the sub accounts in yours, you could go like, this guy does this guy does this guy does that, right? If I ask one of your sub accounts to describe what they do, they're going to be all over the place, right? So the people that are doing such high volume, they're charging more. That's number one, okay, because they're pitching it as a done for you solution. And so what happens is they can, number one, they can, or another thing that they can do is afford to have their own team, right? That comes in and basically, hey, I already know how to fix this and that kind of thing. And most of their clients don't even have to log into the system because it's being used to generate leads.
Right. It's a very different setup altogether. Potentially one without a log. Like I know there's a lot of talk about this, right? The difference of, okay, are we just giving them the tool, access to it, or are we just providing the service? Because and the more we talk about it, I'm like, it seems to be the better option to just provide the service because
Yeah.
you can charge more. And truth be told, you're probably going to have to do a lot of that work, even if you just give them the SaaS tool,
Yeah.
because the client, as you say, they don't want to spend time in there unless they're an agency, unless they're maybe web designer or something that's kind of in that digital, if they're really familiar with digital tools.
Yeah.
But if you go into the regular local business owner, they don't want to touch
They
it.
don't
They
want to
don't want
touch
to
it.
be
Yeah.
in there. They have enough other things to keep them busy. So, very good
What's
insight.
What's interesting is so early on I'd mentioned that we launched three times. First time was a failure. Second time was in the real estate niche. The third time was actually in about October of 2023. We made a pivot out of the real estate industry altogether, just simply because the market in the US started to change. A lot of real estate agents leaving the market. So in the real estate world, it was, my clients we have about 300 ish real estate agents, and they're paying about $199 a month roughly. Okay. And when we pivoted towards a restaurant niche, which is 100% pitched done for them. So In the real estate world, high volume up front. We're doing $3,500 setup fee, $199 a month. We'll build it out, but then we hand it over to them and they still manage it. In the restaurant world, we're doing low amount up front. We're collecting 1 month's worth of payment. Our lowest payment is $599 a month. We have some clients paying $22.99 a month. And we don't charge a setup fee, but we set it all up for them. And what's interesting is I have about 180 restaurants. I have about 300 real estate agents. The revenue between the two is practically identical. Okay.
Yep.
The monthly reoccurring revenue for my real estate agents is almost the same as my monthly reoccurring for my restaurants. My restaurants never log into the system, never need support, right? Because it's pitched done for them. They're
Yep.
using it to manage leads and prospects and so forth, which can all be done from this guy,
Yep.
right? Where my real estate agents are in support all the time, right? Because they want to build a new funnel, they want to build a new website, they want to change it around, they want to integrate something else into it, and things of that nature. But from a longevity standpoint, because it's pitched as done for you on the restaurant side, those clients have very, very little churn. Very little. I would say it's less than 2% of my clients leave on the restaurant
Oh,
world.
yep. Yep. That's amazing. That's really fascinating to hear those stats on that. It's huge difference. That just
Yeah.
clarifies the point of, hey, if you can find both, as you say, client, the level of client you get, and then also maybe, how can you do it so it's a done for you service?
Yeah.
And it just seems to reduce a lot of support. And especially if you have a good onboarding behind that, it's going to make a world of a difference.
Yeah.
So that can be handled seamlessly, right?
Mhm.
So that's really fascinating. Now, if we were to speak a little bit more to how and what your business provides as far as service to assistable, let's just say, give me a pitch for anybody listening here. Pitch your services here.
Well, you mean pitch assistables or what we
Pitches
do with
like especially
assistable?
so we're talking to largely assistable users here. So
Okay.
assistable and obviously Nexus AI, which is my white label version of that, which
Version
I'm
of the
able to give more bonuses and stuff for, which
right.
is assistable in a
Okay.
different shell.
So I think the important thing to understand is that you have to know your client, number one. Okay. So if you are selling your service, whether it's assistable or high level or a combination of both, and you're pitching it as a low ticket, like do it yourself type of thing, those people are going to need a ton of support, a ton.
Mm.
Because they're going to get stuck. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? And the big question becomes is like, do you want to make yourself available when they're available? Because I'm in the Pacific Standard Time. I think now it's actually Pacific Daylight Time, if I remember correctly, right? And a lot of my clients are on the East Coast, right? So they're up at 8 o'clock in the morning their time, and which is 5 o'clock in the morning mine. Do I want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I'm available to help them, and then hop on a Zoom and then constantly be in Zooms and after Zoom after Zoom after phone call, walking them through the same things over and over again? And the answer is probably not. Most people who do this, they don't get into the business because they're like, I can't wait to provide technical support for people, right? I
Mhm.
can't wait to, troubleshoot, what's going on, right? So you're going to need some sort of help, whether that's hiring your own team member, which has its own pros and cons, or hiring a third party company like us to come in and do it for you, where we have the ability to train and we have the ability to provide 24/7 support on, again, your client's time zone, not ours. So so that's the thing that I would look at. Even if you're looking at somebody other than us, like here are the boxes you want to check. Are they available 24/7? Because your clients are gonna want them at their time zone, not yours. Are they able to evolve as assistable starts to evolve even more, as high level starts to evolve with it? Do they understand both high level and assistable at the same time? Because they're integrated together, right? And they need to be able to do those things. And does that company have the ability to support your growth as you continuing to grow?
Very, very important things to consider for sure.
Mhm.
So fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to be dropping a link down in the description if you want to check out the website and Dakota's website here. You'll be able to do that there. I'm just going to check through the community questions. There's a couple questions that came in. I want to make sure we answer them.
Okay.
So I think we answered this one. What they do not do when doing assistable and GHL connections. So I think that question would be: is there anything off limits as far as setting up assistable and go high level?
I can't think of anything that's off limits. I haven't run into anything yet, because we try to troubleshoot every situation that's coming. And the good thing you know, other platforms, like including Highlevel, we won't go in and build out a prompt, and
Yep.
because the prompt it can be different. The cool thing
Very.
about Assistable is it builds out the prompt for you. You just tell it what you want it to do, right? So we actually, and when it comes to AI, can actually do more support inside of Assistable than we can even inside of Highlevel.
That is pretty neat. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And like that's one thing, if you did build outs, that would be a thing that would be added into that, the prompting, right?
Yeah,
But I agree, having done a lot of build outs, that's not something as a support agent, as a support, you just don't, you wouldn't want to touch that
right,
unless you're the one who built it.
right.
All right. So next question: how good is the technical understanding of assistable? I think we kind of covered this. That obviously you've been diving into it for about 4 months now, and that obviously assistable is evolving, it's growing. So there's gonna be constant evolving on your end as well. Anything to add to that?
No, you hit it right on the nose. We started using it in about December, about early December, with when we brought on Bernie.
Yeah.
And then we've just been training the team ever since. Um, I would say in January, February, 100% of our team was 100% trained on assistable. The problem isn't the assistable. The problem is the challenge is that our team has tripled in size, so we're growing faster than than we can train the new people on assistable. So the goal is eventually to get all of the new ones 100% trained up. But in the meantime, we've provided a workaround, and that is we'll just open a support ticket and get it to the right person.
Mhm. Yeah. No, better to have support through a support ticket than on chat if that means it's quality support for sure.
Yeah.
In the meantime, right? That's awesome. Thanks for pitching in for mentioning that. And then with one final, well, I guess there's a couple bundled in here. So custom snapshots, yes, that's a go. That's not an issue. Pricing tier like per client basis. An hourly model. He's asking about hourly model, so almost more like a VA service. Can you speak to those items a little bit?
Sorry, somebody's buzzing through my phone.
No worries.
Um, so, okay, so you said hourly.
So yeah, so per pricing tier like per client basis. So I'm guessing what you probably I don't know if you have this in place. I'm guessing you do. That's like maybe up to 10 for this price, up to so and so for that price. I'm not sure how you do that. Is that how you do that piece of the?
Yeah, so we really have two pricing: 15 sub accounts or less, and then more than 15 sub accounts. There are some benefits. Our big one is called the Platinum Unlimited. So the benefit of the Platinum Unlimited is it also includes a one-on-one onboarding, which most people want nowadays, and there's not much difference in pricing. So 15 sub accounts only for support, no one-on-one onboarding is $359 a month. Platinum Unlimited is $599, but it includes one-on-one onboarding for up to 5 sub accounts every single month. If
Wow.
somebody
Okay.
gets to a point where they need more than 5, they can buy a block and use them as you go, kind of like prepaid minutes almost.
Okay. Yeah.
But for the most part, 90% of our new clients choose the unlimited just simply because of the one-on-one onboarding that's combined with it, even if they only have 10 sub accounts, because
Mhm.
the cost versus benefit is there.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. That price difference isn't that large then, and so that pretty much answers the question that there is not an hourly model where you'd have maybe VAs or what, like kind of like almost like a VA service. I think is a VA agency, whatever they're
Yeah.
called. So that's not something you offer.
Well, actually, we do have a VA service, but we don't use the VA service to do support and onboarding. VA
Okay.
service is like a white label done for you solution. So let's say you as an agency, you're like, I just brought on 2 new sub accounts or a new sub account, and they want a website, and they want custom build out, and you don't want to do it or even have the ability to do it. You could use our white label VA, who will go in and build out custom workflows, build out websites and funnels and things of that nature, and then essentially be client facing for you.
Okay.
And then you buy blocks of hours. They start
Okay.
at 30 hours a month, and then you just use them as you go.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's not an. I didn't expect that you would have that as well. So that'll be a benefit for some
Yeah.
people for sure. Awesome. Well, that looks like that pretty much answers those questions that we have there. Anything you want to add to this conversation before we cut it?
No, I would just say, that yeah, if you're trying to grow your agency, number one, make sure you find your niche. You find your little model, right? Because trying to sell everything to everybody is just not going to work. You might get lucky and land a couple of people, and then when you're coming up with your onboarding process, if you are going to do it on your own, make sure you understand that your people want to learn the way that they want to learn, not the way you want them to learn. Okay. And to provide an onboarding solution and a support solution that offers those things. Like if they're the type of person, like for me, I want to go search help article. I want to do that first. And if I still can't find it, then I'll hop into support. Other people might be like, nah, screw the help article. I want to talk directly to a person right now, right? And they'll go in. So providing those solutions to them in the way that they want to be provided.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, thanks, Dakota. Thank you so much for taking the time, joining me here, sharing the value, and obviously, this is a service that is greatly needed currently in this community. So, glad that you're able to hop in and just have this chat with us.
It's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you having me on.
100%. Well, take care.
Thank you.